Embiid, nice defense there on McDaniels, who's looking for a call. Good luck. Simmons tracking it down and somehow providing a finish. Come good soon enough, and sure enough, he did. The big one hit big off. It's behind the back to Embiid. Joel getting his first bucket of the game. Embiid has already missed a couple of threes. There's Green, hits for a three. Got it. So Danny Green hits the one, sneaking up there, trying to pass Joel's attention. He can do it. Give him a go. Anytime he says turn. So perhaps he's going to slip out of the batter spot a little bit.
Hey, Heat Ratio fans, listen, what a special night tonight. We're back again. We got Tony Jigsaw Cotillo, Al Griffith, and the one and only Alaa Abdelnaby. Welcome, Alaa.
Good to be with you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Man, let's welcome all the fans that's in. Tony's going to be on the 1 and 2s with the comments and things like that. We got Big Mug, Mr. Griffin. I see you, buddy. And so listen, the Sixers are in the playoffs. We have the number 1 seed. We're playing the number 8 seed, the Washington Wizards. What a fitting video right at the beginning of the show against the Wizards. Why not? Another Joel Embiid and Russell Westbrook clash, right? So I'm just going to jump right into it, man, because I'm excited for the playoffs. I know you guys are. So we got to start with our guests first. We got to go with the Duke alum. Okay, he was drafted in the first round. Come on, Portland Trail Blazers. I actually been to that stadium, the Moda Center, and within the last couple of years, saw a great game with the Sixers, man. We got Alaa Abdelnaby in the building, y'all. Let's give it up.
Hey.
So, Alaa, I got to ask you, man, right from the beginning, right?
Thank you, fellas. Thank you. It's good to be with you guys. Appreciate the love, man. Thank you. Right back at you.
So I got to ask you, and we talked a little before we went live about the Sixers and being a number, and everyone's excited, but there's an edge, a small edge of concern, just a small, because I ride, as you can see around here, I ride and die with my Sixers. So, but we got to keep it real with our audience, and we got to keep it real with the fans. We have a small concern with that beast in Russell Westbrook, and that's what Doc said in an interview, that flamethrower in Bradley Beal. Is that something that we need to be concerned about on the defensive end, or maybe just trying to, like most great players, just hope to contain him?
Well, I think it is a little bit of a concern. I don't think it's an overwhelming concern, but I think that concern can be good because it gets you on the right page and you don't overlook your opponent. There's a big gap between 1 and 8, but you can't think that way when you're out on the floor. You've got to dispatch them as if they're just as good, if not better than you. So I think that approach of being a little concerned isn't all bad because it keeps you on point. And there's reason there because this is probably the hottest team right now in basketball. They're relatively they're playing their best basketball of the season, and I think in the what are we 3-0 against them? But I don't think we've seen both of their stars play well at the same time throughout the course of the regular season. It was either or, mostly Beal against the Sixers. So I think that's going to be a concern because they both are playing well now, and I expect them both to show up on Sunday afternoon. So that's going to be something that the Sixers have to contend with. But is it something that I think changes the balance of things? No. The 76ers are clearly the better team. We've got Joel Embiid, and the Wizards all season have yet to show an answer to Joel. So I think that gives 76ers fans confidence when you look back on the regular season and what they've been able to do.
Oh man, that's money right there. Al, I'm going to come right to you with this one, man. Listen, I read this article with Maxey. They asked Maxey a question. He said, "You have no idea what it feels like to be on the floor with a Defensive Player of the Year finalist and an MVP candidate. So do you think with that defensive player of the year finalist and Ben Simmons, that combination of Ben and Matisse, or are we going to roll with the combination of Ben and I just want to get your thoughts on this because I know you get excited about your boy Matisse Thybulle. So I know Doc's going to make the right move with the offense, but on the defensive end, who do you think is the better matchup against Beal and Westbrook? The reason why I say that is because you got Ben and Matisse, or Ben, Green, or maybe Seth. I'm not really sure. Who do you think?
That is a good question. I am a little worried about Matisse on Westbrook because he's a vet and he's going to know how to create that extra contact that Matisse might not be ready for. Remember, he's still young. He's still a kid. So he might not be ready for the beast mode that Westbrook is going to bring. So you got to watch when you put Westbrook in. He could get 2 fouls on him in 3 minutes. You know, that's how quickly you get Matisse in foul trouble. So I probably would go Green just because of that. As far as Matisse and Ben, stop it.
Yeah.
That's just lockdown city. I mean, I can't wait to just unleash Thybulle and Ben in the playoffs because it's going to be crazy. They're going to lock them down. They're going to make them make crazy shots. And, you know, once Westbrook gets out of control, you pretty much you got the game because he's just going to keep going. He doesn't know how to calm himself down, bring himself back, and then reset. He just keeps going. So I think we'll be good with that. I am worried about Matisse on a vet, not necessarily Beal on him, but definitely Westbrook.
All right, so here's I'm gonna shift gears a little bit because all year long I was saying the Sixers healthy to me was finals or bust. A healthy Sixers team is a very good Sixers team. We don't have the number 1 seed for no reason. All right. So a healthy Sixers team. So this break from the last game to obviously Sunday, I believe it's monumental. It really helped us get ourselves together. And I'm sure Doc, being a veteran coach that he is, the championship coach that he is going to have them ready. Tony, I got to ask you, this team being hot, coming in to our building on Sunday, this team being hot, what is it going to take for us to stop them, calm them down? Is it going to be transition defense? Because, you know, they love to get out on the break, or have Doc execute them and, execute our style of play and kind of offend them a little bit and just beat them with the half-court offense?
You know, I'm more excited than I was 3 months ago. I mean, you guys talked me off a ledge, and we mentioned that in the pre. I was ready to jump. I'm telling you, I was like, I had it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But what I can say right now is, and I said this before, I can see the formation now. I can see why they formulate the team the way they did, and I understand it. So I think the biggest thing is it's all about the defensive side of the ball. It really is, because defense wins championships. We already know that. You're not going to win a championship with scoring 145 to 140. So in the playoffs, you got to lock down defenders. You have to lock down the other stars. And Bradley Beal's at 100%. Right. So we already know that, even though he dropped 25 on like one leg, but he's still not 100%. Right. But Russ, Al, you made a great point. Russ just is out of control when it comes to going coast to coast. And, you know, the one man fast break is John Wall, but Russ is doing everything to do to take that nickname away from him. So because he is one of the fastest guys from basket to basket. So I think the biggest thing is, Russ is going to get his. Let Russ, because nobody else on that team can beat you. I mean, like Alaa said, they have no answer for Joel Embiid. I mean, am I really worried about Lopez and Alex Yen? Seriously? Come on. We don't even have any business in the playoffs if we need to worry about those guys. So they just need to stick to their game. Let Russ do what he wants. It's fine, because there's nobody else I'm really worried about. And I think we'll come out with an easy W in 4 games. They're not winning 1 game. I'm sorry to tell you right now, the Washington Wizards are winning 1 game. It's the easy sweep.
And again, Alaa. So let's hop right into a prediction for first round. First, what is your first round predictions, Bring the heat.
Listen, I think 5 games tops. 5 games tops. I'm going to give them 1 game just because of the way they're playing, and they might catch us. Somebody might get in foul trouble. Something might happen to JoJo early in the game, and they just catch us where, the stars align for them, so to speak. But here's what worries me about them is they've played 2 really high-pressure games this week, playoff games. So they're already at that intensity level. We've got to, when we see them on Sunday, be right there because they've had to fight for their lives this week and come out victorious. So they know what desperation is. We have to play with that same desperation, even though we're the number 1 seed, and we might be able to afford a night off. Why risk it? Come ready to go.
You make a great point. And once again, I don't. It's just me. All year long, I've been saying for the Sixers, we understand the players. We understand where they come from. We understand who they are. The Joel Embiid, the Ben Simmons, the Matisse Thybulle. But our X factor, and I've been saying this all year, our X factor is Doc Rivers, because what a better coach going into this type of scenario when the hot team's coming in, like you said, they already raised. They're at playoff. They're at the playoff level that they should be because every team has to raise it another level, right? Well, the Sixers, the last thing we want is for them to come in cold while Washington is coming in hot. So what better coach and what better leader is in place that we need in Doc Rivers? Because I just don't see an inexperienced coach kind of getting into a rhythm early. They may, because they're a good team and the players do play the game, because they're a good team, they could put it together, but I just don't see it unless if it wasn't Doc, I wouldn't feel as good as I feel right now about Sunday's game. I have to go with Tony. I think it's a sweep. I think this first round has to be a sweep because we need to get back to being healthy and rested. Because, like I said, when you have a Joel Embiid, you need that guy relaxed, ready to go, high intensity in his head. Because when he's high intensity in his head, man, this guy is physical. He's just a monster to be. I mean, it's tough to even guard him. I may have seen him this year do every offensive move I've ever seen in my life. I seen the hook shot. I seen the post up, 3-pointer. I saw a drop step. I saw a fadeaway. I saw almost every offensive move. Maybe I didn't see a crossover hezzy pull back. I didn't see that.
He did that. I think in what game was that? He did. Remember at the end of the game, one time he did do that. He did do it.
Was that Chicago when he had 50?
Oh,
you know what? Yeah, I think that was.
No, I think it was
Chicago. The left wing, the little 1-2 with the left hand, and then he pulls up.
Right across.
There was nobody in the building. He was asking for everybody to cheer. That's why I love him, man.
Gotta love Joel. Gotta love him. And the funny thing is, we would hate Joel if he was on the other side of the court. Because he's with us, we absolutely love him.
And they do, rightfully so. You're not supposed to love him. He's coming in to kill your team.
Yeah.
You go home disappointed. You're supposed to hate him.
Absolutely.
Wow, man.
Absolutely. But I will say this, Andre, real fast, because I think Alaa made a good point, because we were talking about this before with the switch, right? Can we, the biggest thing to me was Sixers have no experience in this kind of environment, and they just can't flip a switch. And so they have to be ready. They have to be prepared, which is kind of what he was alluding to with Washington already playing for those elimination games. And their switch has already been flipped. So maybe that's a little, one worrisome thing, but like Alaa said, even if you give them a game, I don't think we have any worries anymore.
Yeah, and if you can minimize your work until the later rounds, you're doing yourself a favor. It's just like putting yourself in the number 1 position. It eases the road later. So if you can dispatch with Washington quickly while the other first round, opponent, that you might face is still battling it out, that helps you every step of the way. So every little bit helps. Do yourself a favor by making the road a little easier.
Right. That makes perfect sense. The other thing I was thinking is this hasn't been anything. This has been anything but normal. we started the season off with almost no one in the stadium, right? We have all kinds of COVID protocols and all those things. So this is why I'm not concerned, and I still believe it's a sweep. Even if they flip the switch, they didn't play a full series. And it's and depending on the matchup, they didn't play the same team, and had to beat them 4 games, or old school where they had to beat them 3 out of 5 or whatever the case may be.
But lost one.
Huh?
And they lost one of them.
Yeah, so
right.
So
it's not like they went 2-0.
Right.
The switch, I mean, I get it, but I just think the light is still a little dim. They may have a dimmer on that switch, like a little slide up and down switch. But I'm not concerned. Listen, we waited 20 years. We want to win now. Like we're passionate Philadelphia fans. We want to win now. We waited 20 years, and to me, it just seems like I'm not into all the astrology and all that stuff. But what I can tell you is that this feels so good. This feels like we're in 20. It's not like it's 23 years or it's 18 years. It's exactly 20 years from the AI and the Aaron McKees and the George Lynch's and the Kimbe's. If Joel Embiid does a Shaq like Shaq did with us 20 years ago, man, we're going to be in a great spot. We're going to be in a great spot to make a run.
Yes.
I'm just reminded of when I met Daryl Morey. This was, again, via Zoom at the beginning of the season. The first thing he told me about the team's prospects I've remembered this ever since, is that we need our 3 best guys to play well. So you got to have Joel, you got to have Ben, and you got to have Tobias, and you got to have them engaged for the Sixers to have a chance. Maybe not in the first round, but to get to where you want to go, you're going to get to a stage where all 3 have to play well. So that's the goal right now, is to get those guys going, have Ben, with his, leaning forward, as I like to say, looking to attack. JoJo, hopefully with a lot of space to do his thing, and then Tobias off the dribble, just killing people. So we need all 3.
We do. That's a great point. What do you think, Tony? You think we're going to bring in see, he said we need all 3 because you made a great point there. But Tony, I got to ask you, I've been hearing, and I don't want to call out a couple names in the media, but they was like, oh, we only got to, for us to be successful, we only can go 7 deep or 8 deep. I like B-Ball Paul. I like a lot of guys. I'm thinking we can go 9, 10 deep. That's just my opinion. How do you feel, Tony?
It's going to be, listen, it's going to be interesting the way this rotation plays out, but I don't necessarily know we go 9 deep only because of how well Danny Green and Seth Curry have played. And you remember, I wanted to Uber Danny Green out of here about 3 months ago. I was like, yo, I'm done. What are we doing here? Right. But again, he's a veteran. And Andre, you were right. You kept telling me veteran baller, give him time, right? And coming off a championship run, the legs weren't there. And now he's here, right? Now he's here. And I'm glad you brought that up because here, I mean, look at this as far as SB Nation. Seth Curry, Danny Green combined to make 305 3-pointers within the 72-game season, an average of 43% behind the arc. So you have 2 guys right there. And I think Seth Curry for final 10 was at like 61%, right? So if he's playing that hot, there's no way that you're going to see any of those other – the cork's not even going to get any clock. This is going to be Seth Curry's show. And guess what? In the beginning, he got the COVID. He had the issues. He talked very candidly about it. And for one, I dealt with a lot of COVID issues myself, and it really gets you down. It's fatigue. It's not just sickness. You're just tired all the time. And now he's finally past that. And I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed. So, Andre, to answer your question, I think we only have to go 8 deep. I don't think we have to go 9 deep. So I think we have to go 8 deep with guys playing some significant minutes like a Dwight Howard to give that blow to Joel Embiid. But with Seth Curry and what Danny Green are doing, I'm very impressed.
So Alaa, going with let's think about what Tony just said for a second, because once again, like Daryl Morey said, we need our 3 guys to play well. like to play really extremely well. And I notice when they do, we get the second and I don't like to say second and third unit because I'm a team guy. So I like to say 6th, 7th, 8th guy. We get those guys in, and I think that should be the mission to get the lead so, I guess so comfortable where you can get the B-ball pause in so Dwight can play several minutes, more minutes than he need while Joel is resting and just ready to start the next game.
No, you're right. It's sort of just like what we said about winning it at 4 instead of battling it out over 7. Give yourself that break, even if it's in the middle of a game. So if you've got them down, we've seen the Sixers this year, unlike Sixers in the past, where when they've got a team down, they've been able to keep them down. And we've seen the guys coming deep off the bench and being able to contribute and play, and the starters loving it and the crowd picking up on it as well. So I think that's a huge thing that the 76ers bring. I think when it regards to the rotation, I think the best thing about the Sixers bench is that it gives Doc options. I'm reminded of the way the Lakers used Dwight Howard last year. There were some series they didn't play him, but when they had Denver and Jokic, they played him every night. And they used them to advance and to get to where they wanted. I think the Sixers will be like that too. Depending on who's in front of us, you might see a Maxey some nights, and then some nights you don't. I'm reminded, what was it, 10 days ago, as we were finishing up the season, he didn't play one night, and then the next night he's starting. We're talking about Maxey.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to happen because I think we were sitting guys, but I expect them to be in the rotation, maybe not every night, but you can go pretty deep. Again, the options, I think, are what is the best thing for Doc.
That's a great point. And just to stay on Maxey a little while, just for a little bit more, Al. One of the games, and I believe it was the last game or the game before the last game, where Maxey is just proven, and I mentioned it before, I think on the last show when I said, the Maxey we saw was the Maxey the first 5 games of the season.
Yes.
He has proven that when he's in there with significant time, this guy is hard to, he's just a blaze of fire. You can't stop him. He's an offensive scorer, and he's just fast. And he scored. And one last stat about Maxey I thought was just crazy. He's the only rookie this year to average 30, to have a 30.5 rebound, 5 assist game, multiple times.
Yes.
Multiple times. So he's proven. So Al, I gotta ask you, Maxey with minutes, heavy minutes in the second half, is that a good thing for the Sixers, or do we resort back to, let's get Danny back in there to try to calm things down?
I think it's a great thing that he got so many minutes during the season, and I would admit it. And at a certain point, maybe a quarter through, I said we got to get a vet in here, and that's why they brought Hill. And I thought that Doc lost confidence in him, and he knew at a certain point that he wasn't going to do the certain things that we need him to do in the playoffs. Since then, he has flipped the script. So he has proven everything that I thought that we needed Hill for that he can do. So I can't say that he's going to get a lot of minutes. I can't say that he's going to get any minutes. But I do know if we have to put him in, he's prepared and he's going to contribute.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Andre, we talked about, like Al's alluding to, like 10 games ago, thinking, where is Tyrese Maxey? Why is he not playing, right? But again, that's why I'm behind the microphone and Doc Rivers is on the sideline, right? So, thank God they don't listen to Jigsaw, they listen to Doc. But at the end of the day, though, what I will say is I think, and I don't know if you guys agree, but he's in a perfect spot to give you those 5 to 7 spark minutes when maybe things aren't going your way. Maybe shots aren't falling. Maybe you got to switch up the mojo a little bit. You call his number, he comes out. Right, exactly. And he's just fearless. He just plays fearless. That's what you need to inject that confidence back in again. So I think, in my opinion, that's what he's going to be used for in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Jigsaw, because I think what he brings to the table is speed. So if you're not running, that's a great time to put him in. just to kind of speed things up, put them on their heels for a couple possessions. I agree with you. It may not be for a long period of time, but just give the game a different feel, a different look. So, yeah, there may be certain situations where you use him just for that.
Right. That's Tony, I got to come back to you with this because you mentioned Maxey coming because I purposely stayed on Maxey. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I purposely stayed on Maxey because we were talking about how deep can the Sixers get, right? Mm-hmm. So the addition of George Hill, Alaa just alluded that Maxey can switch it up because say you think things aren't going so well or you just need to change up the tempo to get a new spark, get the speed guy in there just to switch it up. But if George Hill kind of brought that same kind of switch up type. So like George Hill, you put George Hill in to say, okay, we got a second unit in here, but we need to stay in control. And George Hill is that veteran guard that'll keep the game. So we have a huge lead. You put George Hill in, have George Hill facilitate, get the guys in position. And now you have a veteran guard. And then but there was a time where George Hill was in there with Maxey. And and depending on who brought the ball up, if Maxey got the ball in the out of bounds play, he was gone.
Yes.
George Hill was he took the ball and just flew past George Hill. And George Hill was at the half court line. But George Hill is just a different type of player. So for those minutes that you talk about to go in, who's more productive? Is it situational, or is you just say, you know what, I need the lead so we can finish out the game. We need the lead. So even if our starters create a huge lead, who do we put in to make sure that the lead is consistent and we finish out the game?
Well, I think obviously it's got to be George Hill. And I think George Hill is more Shake Milton insurance than Tyrese Maxey insurance, right? So I see a lot of people checking in saying Maxey played better than Shake down. But we've always thought about Shake as a shooter, not Shake as a ball handler. And people have their strengths, right? So when you put a guy like George Hill in the game, at least, like you said, Andre, you trust him at the end to get close games out to handle the ball, right? Maxey is more fiery and more fearless, and Shake actually is the third part. But here's the thing about George Hill, what I will say. He's had the unfortunate spot of he got traded here, was injured, hasn't had a lot of time to build the chemistry with the team. Tyrese Maxey's been with this team all year. And even though he may not play in starter minutes, he was practicing with the team. So he was gelling with the team. So they may actually feel more comfortable with Maxey in there than Hill at certain times, just because he knows more plays. He understands the logic a little more. And I think maybe he just gels with the nucleus more than a George Hill right now. But to close games out, it's 100% George Hill.
I agree.
I think the bottom line is Doc has basically when he puts a player in, I've said this on the air before, when a coach puts a player in, they want to know what they're going to get out of that player. As they call him from the bench, as they're putting him in, they want to be able to know. So I think with a guy like George Hill, having been around so long, even with the injury, Doc knows through his experience what to expect from a guy like Hill. That's what the other young guys are fighting for, that confidence that the coach has in you, that he knows what he's going to get out of you when he puts you in. They don't want to gamble come playoff time and hope when you go in that things go well.
Right.
Because their job's at stake. Their reputation, everything's at stake. We want to win in this city. That's at stake too.
Yes.
So all that stuff matters. And I think the bottom line is gaining Doc's confidence. Have they gained his confidence enough? We're going to find out. Yeah. We're going to find out in these next couple of weeks who has and who hasn't. And I think that's part of the fun. I'm looking forward to it. But, yeah, Doc wants to know what's going to happen when you go in.
Man, that's the bottom line, isn't it?
That's it. That's everything.
And what an exciting season. I mean, we started out new coach, new GM, new guys. Everybody's coming in, and we're like wondering, like, what is it really going to be? Like, only people we really knew was Ben and Joel for the most part, right? And Matisse Thybulle's game changed. I think it's changed for the better for this year because Matisse Thybulle last year was shooting 3-pointers like it was nothing. And this year, he's like, this is defensive Matisse with a shot. And he's driving to the basket. So that's 100% Doc Rivers. That's 100% Doc Rivers. And you got to give credit to the whole coaching staff.
Yes.
I mean, we have a coaching staff that is putting pressure on these guys to just be their best. And one of the reasons why I love the Sixers and love them my entire life is they no matter what the case may be, they make sure Philadelphia and they take care of the fans of Philadelphia. Even through this COVID mess, they're taking care of us. But the way that they're pushing the games, and they were in the city yesterday throwing T-shirts in Center City, and they're bringing that energy back, and they're bringing that energy back in this era.
Yes.
It's just so weird. I don't even know how to describe it, but we're all in it together, and they're in sports and music. I'm telling you, in culture, it all comes together, and that's the only thing I got to say about that, because the Sixers are the team to beat this year. They're riding high. It almost made me forget about who's out west because it doesn't matter. It's 20 years later, and we want to win today. That's how I feel about it.
I think what's remarkable is there are some teams out there, because let's not forget, practice time was cut, the preseason was cut, COVID protocols kept guys out, so you couldn't practice as a unit like you did in years past. Add to that a new GM and a new coach with new terminology and a new system, right?
Yeah.
New players coming into 3 key ones in Steph, Danny, and Dwight. All that in a shortened period. That's why I thought for the first couple of months this team was still getting better, because they hadn't really practiced together, done anything.
Right.
Doc said last week that this is the most practice this week that this team will ever have.
Yeah.
So that says a lot about what they've been able to do. This is not like a team like San Antonio where Pop's been there forever. Sure, your practices are shortened, but the words are the same, the system's the same. All you got to do is incorporate 1 or 2 new guys at the most. That's not what the Sixers had to go through.
Right.
The Sixers had to reintroduce themselves to everybody. So that was, I think, a telling thing about how this team can get together, even with all the obstacles they had to face that were keeping them apart.
Nah,
two more things I just wanted to cover. You got Dwight, because you mentioned Danny Green and Dwight. They just came off a championship season, and they turned around and put their lunch pail to work. And we're like, and they came to work. They didn't come with the. I mean, look at this guy. He got Wendy's tweeting him back, and the Frosties.
I love Dwight.
I'm telling you, Dwight is a character. This guy, I totally forgot that he even played for that other team out west. I totally forget it.
Maybe they know something we don't know, man. Right? They've been on championship teams. They know what it looks like. Maybe that's why they're here.
He's been saying it all year. Dwight has been saying.
I'm just saying. Maybe they're smarter. They're the 2 smartest guys in Philadelphia. Who knows?
Well, they made the right choice.
3 smarts, because Doc wants to come here too.
There you go. Yeah, we'll add him and Daryl to the mix too. That's right.
Yep, absolutely.
I
love it.
We talked about that last week. Doc made the choice to come here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
What's the key? What's the keys to winning the first round?
Playing our game and not theirs. You know what I mean? Like going into Joel, beating him up inside, getting him to the free throw line, and then when he kicks it back out, have have Seth and Danny ready, and then in transition have Ben and Tobias doing their thing. I think playing our game, getting to run when we can. We know we're not going to run all the time, but I still want to run against this team because I think there's easy baskets to be had in transition. And then when we have to go half court defensively, I can't wait to see our defense because that's what's going to get it done for us. We all know that. You know, the shots are on some nights might not fall, but down the other end of the floor, you can get up in your guy, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Well, I know you know about that. I mean, come on, 6'10", power forward. Now, and I made sure that Mike Krzyzewski didn't say center. I said power forward. This guy's not a center. He's a power forward who happens to be able to play the center if he needed to. But
Laker wasn't a tough guy, man. They needed a tough guy in there.
I love it. I love it. Al, what's the keys?
I think just slowing Bill down. Obviously, he did that 50-point game that went. We wasn't really worrying about it and even trying to stop. Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead. Do your thing. And then we still won that.
Tony, what's the keys?
Listen, I obviously talked earlier about just playing with confidence and playing your game. But I think just don't get off the path. There's a reason why what you've been doing has worked to get you to the number 1 seed. Yeah, there was a lot of bumps in the road, and I wanted to jump off cliffs. I understand that because I'm passionate and we've been through a lot, right? But at the end of the day, this team was built a certain way for a reason. And you mentioned the coaches there, Doc Rivers, Dave Yeager, Sam Cassell. I mean, these guys don't get enough credit, man, the way they've actually turn some of these players around. So the biggest key is just stick within yourself. Just like Alaa said, listen, Joel, don't shoot 5 threes. Don't listen. Come on, big man. Keep doing what you've been doing all year long because there's nobody in the NBA right now that can stop you. So continue to play that game and continue to play the offensive mindset, and we're going to be fine.
All right. I want to close the show out with this, Alaa. You got to put on your remember cap. You got to put on your remember cap real quick. It's 1990. Okay. You already know where I'm going.
Wow.
It's 1990. You're sitting there, and they say, with the 25th pick of the draft, the NBA, the Portland Trailblazers select Alaa Abdelnaby. What do? What's that feeling like?
It feels surreal, right? Because I grew up in the North Jersey area. The draft always happened right across the river. And I watched it every year. And I watched it happen to other people, and then because I'm a fan. And for it to be full circle where you get invited and you get to be there with your family and friends, it's surreal. But I remember when your name gets called, I had to remember where Oregon was because that's not close, man. That's really far. But I also remember, they were just in the finals because you get drafted at the end of June. At the beginning of June, they were just in the finals against the Pistons, and they wound up losing. So I knew I was going to the second best team in the world. So I had to make sure my game was ready when I got there. But of course, you know about Clyde Drexler, Buck Williams, and all those guys. So yeah, it was an honor to be there, man. And we were really, really good. That was a fun team to be on.
Man, that's awesome. And then that's not to mention you guys went to the finals 2 years later.
We know history with MJ Shrug, right?
How many threes am I going to make, right?
Well, exactly, man. The scouting report was give him the 3, take away everything else, and look what he did.
What's the odds, man? What's the odds? What's the odds? Oh, man.
7 of them.
So I just wanted to close with that because that has to be
that's feeling. A good way to send me off. A good feeling.
Yeah. It's a good feeling. And listen, I've been a fan. I've done my research. Obviously, 1990 was a great year for me as well.
Good.
Playing, and actually I was on a high school team, and nice. One of my best friends went to Pitt, and then he ended up being drafted by the Lakers, Gerald Jordan.
Sure.
And
yeah.
So I had to ask you how that feeling is, man, because we wanted to give you your flowers. We want while you're here, we love you. We love you here in Philly. I don't care about the other teams. I mean, obviously you do that you played for, but you're always going to be a Sixer in my eyes.
I appreciate that, man. And I just want you guys to know from where I'm coming from, I'm not possible without people like you, right? And I've seen other teams and other fan bases, and Philly's, nobody compares. So I feel fortunate to be where I am because of people like you. So thank you very much. I appreciate you guys and what you do.
And thank you, Marty, for making it happen. I wasn't going to.
He just texted me. Just texted me.
I was not getting off this show without saying thank you to Marty Dickinson, my guy. Man, much love to you and much respect. I love you, brother. And obviously, we saw each other today, like I said. So thank you, Marty, for making the connection. Tony and Al, you guys got any last words?
I'll just say this. I'll respect the hell out of you. Love what you said. And one thing I will say, because I got the nickname Jigsaw for being kind of up in your face and kind of mentality. You don't hold back on the microphone. I will say that, and I love every minute of it. Well, you're real, and that's what's fantastic, right? Wait, because come on, man, don't shoot that. I'm like, I love it, like that. But it's so true, right? We all say it. So it is not to say like your counterparts aren't garbage in the gold, but it definitely is gold when you're on the mic. So I appreciate that and appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Thank you, man. I'm having the time of my life. Thanks, guys.
You got it.
Same thing. We really appreciate you giving us a couple minutes of your time. I mean, literally 2 days away from game 1 of the Eastern Conference playoffs. So we definitely appreciate you coming on. And I cannot wait till Sunday at 1. I can't wait. I got the 2001 feeling right now.
One thing left to say, right? Go Sixers, right? That's
Go
it.
Sixers.
That's it, man.
I can't wait to say play the song.
Yeah, play that song. Play that song. Play that song. Everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch you next time.